We're live, yeah? Bismillah. Okay, we're starting. Okay, guys, right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alright, so where are we now? Okay, yeah. So just to explain this issue then. So according to the Hanbalis, now the sun, wind, rubbing or massaging or whatever is not going to change anything which is impure if you don't use water. Okay? Wiping or anything, water has to be used. Not even istihala, not even a chemical transformation. But they did say, but in brackets, actually there is one thing which becomes pure, and that's alcohol, which they think is najas, but it's not. When it turns into vinegar. Vinegar itself is a pure substance, okay? It's a pure substance. It's something which the Prophet ﷺ praised. He said that it is the best of condiments, yani the best of things that you take with a meal. Best of dipping sauces, if you like, alright? Something which adds that little bit of extra taste, alright? And the Prophet ﷺ used to like it, the Muslims used to eat it, and so on and so forth. So it's pure, okay? So that's fine. However, the next sentence says, if vinegar is made, then it cannot be purified. Also liquid fat, which we'll talk about liquid fat in a second. What does that mean, if vinegar is made? Yes?
It means if someone deliberately leaves alcohol.
Someone?
Okay, a Muslim,
yeah.
For example, deliberately leaves alcohol with the intention of changing it to vinegar.
Yeah.
Then he's actually making the change where it's different from accidentally.
Okay. Okay. Carry on though. What happens if a Muslim was to do that? So I always said, if a Muslim intentionally buys alcohol or has alcohol, whatever, and he sets it up, in the way that it is, because it does require some setup. If you look on your back you get this question all the time, right? Is this haram? It says red wine vinegar, yeah? Is it haram? It says white wine vinegar, spirit vinegar, and all kinds of crazy kind of alcohol. It's scary kind of phrases, to be honest. You know what I mean? If you're a pack and you see like a red wine bloody vinegar, you're thinking bloody hell, yeah? That's hardcore, all right? It doesn't say, spirit vinegar, you can say whatever that means, but red wine, right? So it's clearly set up from different wines, from different types of alcohol, gives different flavor of vinegar, okay? So we're now talking about Muslim. He handles it all, whatever, does all the whatever is necessary, oxidizes it, turns into vinegar. Okay? The Hanbalis are saying if that happens, it's not going to become pure. Let me ask you a question. Where did the impurity or purity come into this discussion? No, I'm saying that we've already said that vinegar is pure. Yes?
It's the process of making.
Okay. But what I'm saying is that the final thing is pure. So why is it impure? Did we say that vinegar is pure? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. The very next statement says if vinegar is made, then it becomes impure. And by the way, that means by a Muslim.
Intention.
What about the invention?
The intention.
The intention. What about the intention?
Does the intention make it not? I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's just a statement at the back of the label, which is.
No.
Would it be that it isn't impure, rather it's pure, but the process is haram on the person?
Correct. That's what the scholar said. That's what the scholar said. They said this is quite a unique situation actually in fiqh. Okay. They said that the prohibition of the act had an actual detrimental effect on the final product, making it not only impermissible to buy and use and to drink, but also impure as well. Okay. They said that to be honest, I can't think of another example in fiqh. There must be, but it's not easy for me to think of another example of fiqh where the haram action affected the final product so much. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah.
On a side point, if you hold alcohol to be impure, and it moving to vinegar, isn't that an evidence that istihala is an acceptable concept?
No, they accept it. The Hanbalis, every scholar accepts accepts the concept of istihala of alcohol to vinegar. But listen carefully, it's a really good question this, okay? Because that's exactly what he's making. The point is that it's a contradiction. They don't believe in istihala, but they accept it for alcohol. But in actual fact, they don't accept it for alcohol. because they're never ever going to let you do it.
Ah, okay.
They're never going to ever allow you to do it. And so now I just need to give you a little bit of context. The Prophet ﷺ did say that vinegar is great, and he loved it, and he used it all the time, but that was because he bought it from the Jews and Christians. Alright? So it is permissible, because it is permissible for Jews and Christians in their religion to make it. Okay, I always found this one of the kind of the kind of quirky, contradictory kind of concepts of Islam that we just accept and close our eyes and ears. Because if you think about it, it doesn't make sense. How could the Prophet ﷺ like something which we're not allowed to make? Yeah? And I didn't think about it enough because it hurt my head, and so I kind of, I was trying to think of other examples, and I think there are some out there. Just need a bit of thinking time. Yeah? But it is one of those strange ones. Alright? So it's not allowed for a Muslim to make it. And the Muslim, when he does it, he's done a haram act. And you know what? It isn't actually impure. The alcohol is not, the vinegar is not actually impure, but the phrase has been placed upon it to basically keep the people away. Like a sin associated with it. And that's how the fuqaha, they looked at it. But we know that actually vinegar is something. What I want to say is that just imagine that you came into a warehouse and you needed to wash something off your skin, and you saw, Ahmed Brothers at the top, and it was, they had like a manufacturing unit and they were making vinegar. You could use it to wash your hands, you wouldn't have to, wash your hands afterwards because it's najis. But I want you to understand that it is given the ruling of impure to keep people away, because it's unthinkable that a Muslim would get alcohol and then use it to make vinegar. Vinegar can only be used and bought when it is being sold by, when it's made by, not sold by, when it's made by non-Muslims. Muslims can sell it though, okay? Because in of itself the vinegar is halal. Okay? One of those little contradictory statements. Or not contradictory, I don't know. What's the word? I don't know what the word is. Okay. All liquid fat becoming impure. Liquid fat, okay, fat is two types obviously. Duhn, siman, meaning physical fat, like butter or ghee, or really thick fat, or you got oil, right? And so the idea is that if it's physical, not physical, solid, solid, If it's solid, then it's simple. If something dirty falls in, you just pull it out, and you cut out the rest of the part around it. Agreed? And if it is liquid, then you can't do that, because the idea is that it is, dispersing in it and so on and so forth. And that's why the scholars, they differed between the two. They gave a separate ruling to each one. And Shaykh Uthaymeen says, no, actually there's no evidence for that. It is the liquid is the same as the solid. If you are able to isolate the najasa and get rid of it, that's the only thing we care about. But if you are unable to isolate the najasa from liquid fat, and in fact you add anything, then of course it becomes impure. When you are unable to get the najasa out, then it's not. So the Hanbalis, their position at that time is very specific to their understanding that they couldn't get the najasa out of the liquid fat. Does that make sense, everybody? Yeah? Okay. We're moving a little bit. And there is actually an evidence for this, by the way. The Prophet ﷺ was asked about a small mouse which fell into some fat, a vat of fat, and he said, "Alquha wa ma hawlaha fatruhuh wa kulu samnakum." Yani he goes, throw this hadith is narrated by Bukhari. Throw away the mouse and what is around it. Yani throw that away as well and eat your fat. Yani eat it. Yani use it. Okay. So it's solid, and take it. Throw it away, and what's around it, its immediate surroundings, what came in contact with it, and eat the rest of it. So it's very, very clear why the scholars allowed the physical fat, solid fat. And the reason they didn't allow the ma'i is because there's actually a hadith. The Prophet ﷺ apparently is said, if it is solid, then throw it away and what is surrounding it. But if it is ma'i means liquid form, then don't come close to it. That's the hadith that the Hanbalis use. But this hadith, which was narrated by Imam Ahmed himself, it's considered to be weak. Okay, as as Ibn Taymiyyah said, this hadith is weak. And as I said, as long as you are able to get rid of the thing, then that's the main issue. As long as you're able to get rid of the najasa, that's the main thing. Okay. All right. The next section is if the location of the impurity is not clear, then the whole area is washed until one is sure of its removal. So you've got you know that some dirt has fallen on you, but you're not sure. So it's on your hand. Okay. And then let's take a thobe. It's on a thobe, and you remember seeing it. Okay. And it was on this side, and now actually you can't work out where it is. Alright, you can't remember at all. And so, according to the Hanbalis, actually according to the majority of fuqaha, actually need all of the classical kind of schools of fiqh, the whole thing needs to be washed. The whole thing. Because you don't know. And it's got to be best to be sure in these matters. Shaykh Uthaymeen, he says, actually, first of all, we need to differentiate between two different types of area. You might have a huge area and you might have a small area. Okay? And so if an area is huge, okay, and he doesn't mention what huge is, it doesn't matter how big huge is. The point is huge in relation to how big you remember the najasa we used to be. Alright? Then you just make a guess, alright, and you go for that general area. Whereas if the area is small, then you can wash all of it. This is what actually the Hanbalis said in detail to this point. Does that make sense? Yeah? They said that if the area is smallish, then you would wash it. But if the area is big, then you would make what we would call a taharri. Taharri means an educated guess. Okay? An educated guess. So, for example, that if you had a thobe and najasa fell onto one of the sleeves of the thobe, and you don't know which one of the two thobes, what the two sleeves has got the najasa, you wash both sleeves. You wash both sleeves, because that way you are. That's the only way you're going to know that you definitely got rid of the najasa. Basically what Shaykh Uthaymeen is saying is that the author is suggesting that to make an educated guess here is not something which is permissible. Okay? You have to do both. Whereas what Shaykh Uthaymeen then says, وَالصَّحِيحِ أَنَّهُ يَجُوزَ التَّحَرِّي. The Prophet ﷺ said, Shaykh Uthaymeen said, that actually the correct position is that it is possible to make an educated guess. If you miss it, you miss it. It doesn't matter. You make an educated guess and you wash. And the evidence for that is what the Prophet ﷺ said about the prayer. If you doubt about what rak'ah you're in, he goes, فَلْيَتَحَرَّ الصَّوَابِ ثُمَّ لِيَتِمَّ عَلَيْهِ. Let him make an educated guess to where he is, and then let him complete the prayer. Meaning that when he makes an educated guess, it's possible that he gets it wrong. And he ends up praying less than what he should have, yes? But the Prophet ﷺ said that's okay, because he made an educated guess. Yes? And so therefore, as long as it is possible to make an educated guess, then you should. But if it's not possible at all, then you should wash that entire area. Okay? Then you should wash that entire area. The next section is the urine of a boy who has not yet started food is purified by simply wetting it. So two things to note immediately. We are talking only about urine, and so feces is the same for boy and girl. Okay, so a nappy is the same for boy and a girl, right? And number two, it's only a boy, and we're not talking about a girl here. All right, so very, very super specific. The urine of a boy, and the condition is that one who hasn't started eating food yet. So we're talking breastfed, basically. First 6 months, first 2 years, not 2 years, obviously. First 6 months. No, that's not even right either. Yeah, 5-6 months. 5-6 months, yeah? Okay, so this is what we're talking about, little baby who's just being breastfed. And what do you, and how do, and if the boy urinates on you, your clothes, whatever, what do you do? The Arabic is nadah. Nadah. Now nadah is an important word that you need to write in Arabic and understand, because it has multiple meanings, okay? The only thing that you really need to know about nadah is that it's not ghusl, or not ghasl, sorry, I should say. Okay? Now those who have studied this now for the last 3 years know that ghasl is a very specific process. We've covered a lot of different things. We've covered masah. Masah means to wipe, yes? And wipe means that the area is not immersed in water. It means a wet hand just goes over an area and the whole place doesn't get wet. And a ghasl, the definition of ghasl, washing, means that water has to flow on that surface. Yeah? Now nadah is a third category. It's not wiping, And it's not ghusl. It's simply to be understood as wetting the area or sprinkling on the area or moistening the area. Moistening the area. Okay? So we're not talking a major wash. We're not talking lots of flowing water. We're not talking full immersion and rubbing. We're just talking a wetting of the area or sprinkling, almost to dilute the effect. Slight dilution. Is that clear, everybody? And the evidence for that is the Prophet ﷺ doesn't need any rubbing, doesn't need any squeezing, doesn't need anything. Hadith of Aisha and Qais bint Mihsan al-Asadiyya أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أتي بغلام فبال على ثوبه فدعا بماء فأتبعه بوله ولم يغسله. Okay, that a baby was brought to the Prophet ﷺ and he picked it up and it urinated upon his clothes, and the Prophet ﷺ asked for some water and he just put a little bit of water on the area. وَلَمْ يَغْسِلْهُ, he did not wash it. فَأَتْبَعَهُ بِالْمَاء, يعني he followed it with water. He followed it with water. It's a very kind of strange phrase, and it basically means that he added a bit of water to it, because the second statement makes it clear he did not wash it. So what does that mean? It just means he wetted it. صح? Okay. Next question might be, so what's the hikmah in yani boy urine being okay and girl urine not being okay? Shaykh Uthaymeen says the hikmah is the sunnah, and that's the end of it. Okay, and that's, he said Aisha radiallahu anha was asked this exact question. He said, and لما سئلت عائشة رضي الله, why is why does she why Aisha was asked, why do we have to make up the fasting but we don't make up the prayer? Yes. So Aisha radiallahu anha said, this used to happen to us at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and we were told to make up the fasting and told not to make up the prayer. Yani, that's the answer. Yani, which is teaching the people a lesson that, you know what, the reasons for everything in principle as a Muslim is that Allah and His Messenger have said so, and as long as it's authentic and it's a nas, that's the only reason you need. However, as you know, that doesn't mean that we can't have a little think about it and add some hikam. So can we add any hikam? I don't know. I heard some. Shaykh Uthaymeen's got a few here. Sound a bit dodgy to me, to be honest. Okay, right. The first one he says that, okay, he goes, we can maybe think of a few. He goes, as for the boy, I'll throw it out there, they're carried more than girls. I don't know about that, bro. I don't know about that. I'm telling you now, I've got 5 kids, alhamdulillah. Girls get carried at least 10 to 1 more than the boys. At least 10 to 1. Shadda?
Yeah. By the way, I have no idea what you said for the past 3 hours.
Oh my gosh, Azman,
So
no, are you so stressed out, yeah?
Honestly, man.
Honestly, man.
One word.
Unbelievable. You see, I want you to know the sacrifice this boy makes, yani, okay? Because he's such a mujtahid student, mashallah, okay? Normally, if he wasn't through the stress, yeah, he'd be so writing notes and memorizing and this and that, okay? So you've stopped him from a major fard, yani, okay? As you've seen, 3 hours, the guy's done nothing.
And we didn't even get tea in the second break.
Subhanallah. This is the problem with sisters. Unbelievably ungrateful. Unbelievably ungrateful. Wallahi, I'm telling you. Alright. So, so he said that. He said that, okay? This statement is so sexist. I'm telling you. Alayhi rahmatullah. Alayhi rahmatullah. I mean, no, I don't want to say that he's sexist. I think the statement itself he said without thinking about it. Okay? He goes, لأن العادة. He goes, the culture, the custom, the norm. أن الذكر يحمل كثيرا ويفرح به ويحب أكثر من الأنثى. He said that yani, the norm really is that the boys are carried more, that one is more happier with them, and that one loves them more than the girls. He said the ada. Okay. Alright. I'm not too sure about that. Okay. I think he has a point though, of course. I think he does have a point in that they are carried more because the girls normally stay inside. And the men are carrying them outside a lot. So I think there I think is a point. Like if they're at home, they're not carried out, they run around at home. صح? But if they're outside, they can't be running around outside. They have to be carried. Does that make sense? When they're at home, they're left. But if you're walking outside, going somewhere, you can't leave them. They didn't have prams, you know what I'm saying? Yeah? That you could just leave them in a pram and they'd have to be carried when you're walking. So that actually makes more sense to me. And as opposed to yufrah, meaning that, men, right, it's a sign of their pride. I've got someone to continue, and they go and show off. And it's something which really irritates me. I mean, big time. I mean, you know that I wrote the policy for this masjid here, and I will release it one day, inshallah. I don't think the children should be in the masjid at all. Okay? And all these people, all these voices coming out in recent times, the kids should be in the mosque. What? I'm going to slap everyone down so hard. They don't know what's happened. It's going to be like super hot fire. It so irritates me, I can't, it irritates me so bad. Okay?
Uncles will love you.
Uncles, bro, I'm an uncle now. I realised Qasem a couple of years ago, me and Shaz sitting there had a discussion. I said, Shaz, Qasem, we're turning into uncles. He goes, we have. Me and Shaz are now uncles.
Uncle G.
It happens, you know that. And it happens and you don't realise it. Suddenly you're there. And then you look around and you realise that everyone else is irritating. And just you yourself, you're not. And then you think, oh my God, I'm an uncle. I'm an uncle. I'm turned into an uncle. So, genuinely speaking, the evidences for the children being in the masjid under the age of 7 are incredibly weak, okay? And meaning all the time. Obviously, we have two very strong evidences that it happened, but for it to be a norm, it's the exact opposite. The norm is that they're not there. And you'll see that this is a position of Ibn Taymiyyah, and there's a lot of stuff to be said and written. I will write it. And I could really let off on this issue, because you'll see a lot of people, they make a big thing about bringing their kids to the masjid, okay, as if they are the ones that continue to bring their kids later on as well. I will say to you without any exaggeration that 90% of those people who make a big deal of bringing their kids to the masjid, you don't see them bring their kids when they're 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 or 13 or 14, which is the time we want them to bring their kids, so that when they come into maturity, they are people of the masajid. But what they are more interested in is to bring them when they're 1 and they're 2 and they're 3. And I ask the question, why is it? Oh, they need to see Islam. You know why they need to see bloody Islam? Because you don't give them any Islam at home. That's why. This is your attempt, to try and make yourself feel better and create an Islamic environment, because you don't have a bloody Islamic environment. I'm telling you. They think that the Islamic environment, these kids listen by lifting their hands and pretend to make dua and whatnot. It's because this is the only place they can. And what do they do all that time when they're 3 and 4 and 5? They scream and laugh and joke and run around and crap and this and that, whatever. And they gave nothing but stress and hassle to everyone else. And what did they learn? Now, I might take an argument. Someone brings a 6, 7-year-old who's well behaved, or 5-year-old, and I see that kid bought every single day for the rest of the 9 and the 10, 11, 12. I'll say, well done, bro. Yeah. And he keeps him with him, and he looks after him, and disciplines him, and the whole thing. But you see that actually the majority of these people who bring these small kids is to do with another reason. It's either because the wife's going crazy at home, saying get rid of the kid, or he wants to show off the fact that, and that's natural. I put my hand up. I remember when I did it with my youngest one, that was exactly my intention. So happy, so proud. And what happened that day, I made tawbah and never ever do it again. I learned the hard way. But that's another story for another time. But you understand what I'm trying to say? So I definitely sympathize with the concept that men do feel proud by their boys. It's the whole concept of girls dress up their daughters into little things, the princess that I never was, that kind of bakwas. The whole. Yeah, it's true though, isn't it? Men show their boys to show this is my successor, my khalifa fil ard, Girls show their little girls, bring a little princess, do the hair, this, that, whatever. I wish I could be like young again, look like that, whatever. For me, I used to have a phrase for it, but now I've got a new phrase. I call it the Nadia syndrome. Okay? Nadia from the Great British Bake Off. You know what? We didn't have any desserts, okay? In Bangladesh or whatever, okay? Right? So, this is me now expressing myself through desserts. And my girl went and smacked it out of the park and she won the bloody thing. Amazing, okay? So I genuinely believe that there is this kind of compensatory kind of thing inside us that we want to try and, make up for our youth. Anyway, Allahu A'lam. Allah knows best, about that part. One thing that he does say, which is interesting, which I like, he goes, and also that they walked around with more, they carried more, blah, blah, blah. And as for their urine, then it comes out in a very restricted way. And I never thought of this, you know that. Okay, so you know how the urine comes out, okay? It comes out obviously, you know, tip of the thingamajig, yeah? There's a name for that.
Yeah, probably.
You know, what was that? It's called a japsai, isn't it?
Huh? What?
That's what it's called anyway. That's what it's called in thingy. It's a racist phrase that, by the way. I just want you to know, but that's what it's called. I mean, amongst people. What's it called in scientific?
Urethral orifice.
The urethral orifice, okay? Sheikh Uthaymeen says that this thaqab, this orifice, this thing, is very, very small. And so when it comes out everywhere. Sprays, exactly. Sprays. And it goes intashara yani fi kulli makan. Whereas the woman's orifice is bigger. Yani wider. And so there is enough space for the pressure behind it for it to maintain a uniform kind of gathering, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Yeah? So, and I'm not talking about impact, I'm talking about point of release. At point of release, the idea is that it's not as uniform as what would be the woman's one. I don't know, Allah Alam. And he goes that, and considering that you're carrying this kid so much, and this spraying all over the place is going to be covering larger areas, okay, and the nature of the the organ, and it could be going here and there, it's going to affect more clothes and more wider area. Basically what you're saying is that the mashaqqa is greater, the difficulty is greater. That's what you're saying, okay? As for the issue of the food, then apparently when a boy, I don't know if there's anything in Zaf, I don't know if you heard about this, whatever, but apparently a boy and his digestive system, when it comes to eating food, and that of the female, they have some different digestive a greater preponderance for digesting, and so maybe the urine is more concentrated in the female than that of the male. So I don't know about that, okay? He's suggesting that. Remember, he's not saying these are facts. He goes, let's look into that. Maybe these are areas, and maybe they are areas, and that's fine. Okay? Very good. Okay, that's good. All right, next point then. Next point is a small amount of impure blood that comes from a pure animal will be overlooked as long as it is not found in any liquid or food item. Okay? So dam, okay? Blood, which comes out and from a pure animal, then it's going to be forgiven, a small amount. First of all, a couple of things being said there. It's got to be a pure animal, so obviously no dog or no pig, right? So it's something like a cow or a sheep or something like that. And impure blood. What they're basically saying, the Hanbali madhab, is that any blood which comes out is impure. Okay, blood is, first of all, the assumption's there that blood is impure, and that if it comes out of the body, it's definitely impure. Alright, that's the second assumption being made. The next point which is being made is that it will be forgiven. The idea is that because we're spending our time with animals so much, and they might get cut here and there, it's quite likely that a small bit of blood is going to, touch itself to your clothes somewhere or on your hands. Tiny amount, yeah? Did you not give the guys notes, Chaz?
Sorry?
Did you not print the notes? I just realised everyone's writing, and I thought we were going to print notes.
Yeah, wasn't it Abu Dhar?
No, that was meant to be done here in the office. We forgot that, you know that. No, that's not something we should have done, by the way. Yeah? But
we just didn't have the time this morning.
yeah, okay. At lunchtime we'll get that sorted. It's only 2 pages of thingy, whatever. I mean, it doesn't really matter anyway. I mean, you can't write notes on that piece of paper anyway, but it's something to look at least physically. And if you've got your laptops or things, it's online. It was online last night. The blood comes from the animal, might come on clothes, whatever, whatnot. What they're saying is a little bit is forgiven. However, if it goes into your food or drink, we're not going to forgive it, even a tiny bit. Okay? Sheikh Uthaymeen straight away says there's no evidence for that. If we're forgiving a little bit, then we've got to forgive it also in food and drink as well. Okay? because, and this is an important point, he goes, when it comes to forgiving, we're forgiving because it is insignificant. So if it's insignificant, it doesn't matter where it applies to. And he goes that the moment that blood, and for that matter anything, okay, becomes so much that it starts to affect the characteristic of what is in, and you remember from years 1 and 2 and 3 that when we talk about characteristics changing, we are talking about its smell, color, taste. Okay? Smell, color, or taste. If any one of these three start to change, then we now realize that the amount that was is involved is significant. Okay? And therefore it becomes najis as well. Alright? Until then though, we are happy that if a little bit of blood falls into any kind of physical item or food or drink or whatever, then that is something which is okay. Now, I want to say that there are, when it comes to blood, that there are 3 types of blood. Okay? Just quick look at blood. There are 3 types of blood. The first type of blood is impure, which can never be overlooked, even a tiny amount. This is the blood which comes out of the front or back passage. Okay, this is the blood which comes out of the front or back passage, and also the blood of those things which is impermissible to eat, such as a mouse or such as a donkey. So the blood of something which is impermissible to eat. So that blood is completely impermissible, even tiny amounts. And a third kind of this is all the first category, the first type of blood. And a third example of this would be carrion, the blood from dead meat. So if you come across a dead animal, remember carrion is a dead animal. Meta is a dead animal. It's called carrion. Yeah. So if you come across a dead animal and the blood in there, even a tiny amount of that is unacceptable. Okay. Sorry, I need to make it clear that dead animal that you find, it does need to be an animal that cannot be eaten by slaughtering it. So for example, so let me just make this clear. If you came across a dead cow, the blood is not najis. Okay? Because a cow is something that can be slaughtered. But if you came across a lion, for example, which cannot be slaughtered to be killed, okay, to be eaten, okay, then its blood is also impure. So only the dead carrion, only the blood of dead carrion, which can be halal, yeah, that is pure. Whereas any other animal, then that's not. That's the first type of blood. The second type of blood is a blood which is najis. So the first type was what? Najis, which never be overlooked. The second type is najis, little bit can be overlooked. Yeah? So the second type is the najis with the little bit of blood can be overlooked. This is human blood. Okay? And also the blood of the shaheed when it's upon him, the blood of the martyr when it is on him, and the blood of misk. Now misk, okay, you will remember, comes from the what of the antelope?
The misk pod.
Misk pod, yeah. What part of the body is it? The what? Stomach. Something. No, it's not in the mouth. I don't think it's in the mouth. It's in the stomach somewhere. Yeah, it's in the stomach somewhere. Okay, and it contains that pure musk or misk. Okay, that blood is something which is a little bit of it can be used, and also anything which is left from those animals which you halal, basically. Al-mudhakka meaning those which are slaughtered. So an animal you slaughter, like a goat or a sheep or a camel or a cow or whatever, and the blood which is left, so that's najis, yeah, but a little bit on your body, no problem. And the third type is that which is pure, tahir, okay, clean, pure. And there's different types of that. So like an A would be the dam of fish. Okay, fish blood. Okay, the second would be the blood of so I was going to explain this later, but I'll explain it now. The blood of animals which has an open circulatory system. Okay, now what does that mean? Basically, we're talking about insects. Okay, basically insects. But I do want you to write down that open circulatory system. In the books of fiqh, you will always see this as described as the animal which does not have flowing blood. Okay, it always is called an animal. يعني لا نفس له سائلة. It does not have flowing blood. But people get confused what that means. So let me explain what it means. Animals have two types. Okay, we are of the second type. Open circulatory system, closed circulatory system. A closed circulatory system is like us. We have vessels, veins, arteries, capillaries, and the blood flows through that in principle, and then it diffuses out, and it, whatever. But there's a distinct difference between interstitial kind of substance and fluid around the tissues and whatever, and blood which is contained within its own vessels. Is that clear? That's a closed circulatory system. These animals are, of course, the second type. Majority of these are haram, najas or whatever, humans or whatever. I mean, but that's when we're not talking about that. When I talk about the first category, small, tiny category of animals, well, they're not tiny because there's billions of them, okay? But insects. Now, insects, they don't have a circulatory system. Blood is everywhere. So the tissues and the organs, they are bathed in blood. Does that make sense? So if you were to open it, it's blood everywhere. Does that make sense? Okay. So there's no flowing blood. This blood is pure. This blood is pure. So the blood of an insect. So classic example, you've got a fly on you, and you smack it, and there's blood everywhere. You don't need to wash that off. Okay. You don't need to wash that off. And and the evidence is for that, just so that whilst we're here, the Prophet ﷺ said that if a fly falls into your liquid, whatever, then pick it up and the other half put it in. Now the idea, of course, is that this liquid is hot, and so putting it back in again is increasing the najasa of the drink, because it's going to melt more, dissolve more, destroy itself more. And the Prophet ﷺ would only ever say that if it was pure. If it was najis, he would never say it.
Can I just clarify?
Yeah.
You said the impure blood that can never be overlooked. Carrion blood, if the animal was
not
pure,
not allowed to be eaten
when alive.
Yes.
But if it was carrion of an animal that could be eaten when alive,
yes,
the blood is overlooked if it's a small amount.
Yes. Okay. Okay, the next one. Just so I'm very, very clear. Yeah. The third type is, I think I might have said that wrong. The last one in the second category. Yeah, I think you wrote that down. I said it wrong. I said to you that the blood which is in the animal of when you slaughter it, like a cow and a sheep, whatever. I said it's najis, which is thingy. Yes.
Overlooked if it's small.
Yeah. This is wrong. I put it in the wrong category. It's actually pure. Okay. The blood from an animal which has been slaughtered, halal. So halal animal which has been slaughtered in a halal way. The blood which comes out of the animal is pure. It is pure. Okay, apologies for that. I just
say the first period.
You didn't make a mistake.
Right.
You said that cow's blood is not najis. You said that in the first part.
Oh, okay, good. I'm just there's so many lines here that I'm getting my head all mixed up. Okay, okay, and I said that the dam of the shaheed upon his body. And the question is that what if the dam of the shaheed, the blood of the shaheed is separate from the body? What if it's on his sword? What do you think? The scholars again differed over it, but basically they said that the majority of the scholars said that it becomes najis. It's only pure when it's upon the body of the shaheed. Okay, it's only pure when it is on the body of the shaheed. As for the minority position, okay, that that blood of humans is always pure. All right, that's the second position, and so therefore this would also be pure as well. This is the class position, and it's a position Shaykh Uthaymeen, and it has a number of good evidences for it. Okay, number one, so we're talking about the blood, human blood. Okay, so I'm talking, you've just cut yourself, you've got blood all over the place. All right, is this blood impure? Is the blood which a dead person is all over the place, is that impure? Is the blood of shaheed, whether on the body, off the body, impure? Majority say it is impure. The majority position on human blood is that it is impure. The correct position, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, and certainly the class position, certainly Shaykh Uthaymeen's position, certainly Shaykh Ihlan's position, and a number of the contemporaries, and Ibn Taymiyyah as well, is that blood itself is intrinsically pure. Reasons: number one, there is no evidence clear to suggest that human blood is impure. Therefore, it remains upon its original premise. The original premise of things is that they are pure. The original premise, al-aslu fil ashya at-tahara. Okay? Al-aslu fil ashya. The basic premise of things is that they are pure until a dalil proves that they are and we have not a single evidence to show that the Prophet ﷺ ordered for any blood to be washed away except for menstrual blood. Okay? Except for menstrual blood. And this is in the light of the fact that there was so much bleeding happening at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Yes? Huge amounts of bleeding that was going. And when I'm saying bleeding, I don't mean just fighting. Cauterizing, hijama, this, that, whatever. Day and night, all this stuff was happening. Blood was very, very common. We don't have any evidence, and the Prophet ﷺ, if it was najis, he would make that very, very clear. And the second evidence is that the Muslims have always had and always will, always did and always are and always will continue to pray when they have been fought and when they are bleeding, when they are in battle, and all of the ahadith and all the ayat which suggest that. Cannot see people going around washing. No, we don't have that at all. We don't have that at all. And Allah knows best. Another evidence, number 3, is that we know for a fact that the human parts are pure. So for example, if a hand is severed from the body, the hand is pure. No one has ever said that the hand is impure. If the hand is pure, then that which is around it is pure as well, which is the blood which is on its edges. Number 4, the blood and al-adami maytatuhu tahira. The human beings, when they die, they remain pure. Fish, when they die, they are also pure. Okay? And the reason for that, this is interesting. The reason why they say that fish are pure, fish blood is pure when they die, is because they say that fish blood when it's alive is pure. And so they said that the same reasoning can be given, that if the human is pure when he dies, then we'll use the same reason for the fish. If the fish are pure when they die, listen, I've jumped a point, but I'm hoping you can make that assumption yourself. What is a dead fish, technically? Carrion. What is the ruling upon carrion? Impure, haram to eat, the full works, yeah? Dead meat is haram. Do you agree? Dead meat is impermissible to eat. Do you agree? Okay, good. So if it is all haram or whatever, whatnot, fish should also be. Do you agree? But fish is an exception. Alright? Fish, when they're dead, they are halal. Yes? And so when they try to explain how is it that it is not under the rules of carrion, they said, because the blood of fish is pure. And so when it dies, it remains pure as an animal. So they said, right, well hold on, humans are pure when they die, which would suggest that their blood is also pure when they're alive. Make sense? So human blood when it comes out is pure, other than menstrual blood. And no, of course not. No. Hayd and nifas and all this are exceptions. exceptions. And some scholars, they said, well, there's the evidence. Look, hayd and thingy, the Prophet ﷺ said, wipe it away. We said that the Prophet ﷺ specifically said that and only that and nothing else. Yeah.
What about the point of front or back? Well, front is obvious, but back passage?
That's an exception because it is coming out with filth.
Right.
The understanding is that it's not going to come out without having touched feces or without touching urine. So that's like a associated ruling. Okay, so yeah, I think that's good. Now they said, and also the text. I mean, that was a lot of conversation that we just had talking about blood, but the real
So what did the other scholars use as their?
No, we don't. Whoa. We have maybe 10 minutes to do the thingy. I think we'll have another bit of time on this, but anyway. Now, pure animal, okay? A small amount of impure blood that comes from a pure animal will be overlooked, okay? Pure animal. So, the Hanbali madhab makes it very clear. There are two types of animal: a pure animal and a impure animal. So, a pure animal is different types. The first type is every animal which is permissible to eat. So, cattle, horses, lizards, rabbits, okay? These are all animals which are pure, which are halal to eat. Therefore, as of themselves, they're pure. When we say an animal is pure, what do we mean? It means you can touch it and you don't need to wash yourself, basically. The second type is what? Covered it already?
Animal has no blood in it.
Yeah. Animals that do not have, flowing blood, i.e. insects, okay? All of those are pure as well. So, for example, if you had a beetle and it fell onto your skin and you stayed there, whatever, you don't become impure, if that makes sense. Okay. As for najas, animals which are najas, according to the madhab, then every animal which is impermissible to eat, is najas. This is a Hanbali madhab. Every animal which is haram to eat is itself najas. That's like hardcore, that, by the way. So if you go and play with some lions, for example, or tigers, yeah, I say that because your man here has done that, yeah, right? Then that's najas, basically. All right, your hands and everything is najas. There is an exception to that. What's the exception?
Cat.
The cat, okay, because the cat is not allowed to eat, okay, and it has been accepted from, and that's because of the famous hadith. All right, the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, this is known as the hadith of Abu Qatada, okay. In the hadith of Abu Qatada radiallahu anhu أنه قدم إليه ماء ليتوضأ به فإذا بحرة فأصغى لها الإناء حتى شربت ثم قال إن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال في الحرة إنها ليست بنجس إنها من الطوافين عليكم والطوافات. Basically, he wanted to make wudu. The water had been brought and the cat had drunk from it, and it was like, oh, we can't use this. And the Prophet Abu Qatada said that the Prophet ﷺ said that it is not impure. It is from the tawafin and tawafat of your house. This water, this remnant that you are using, comes from the remnants of a creature which makes tawaf of your home. Yani it's your pet. It's your home pet. Yeah? I'm talking about the cat. Okay? And this is وسواء كان من دون الحرة من الطوافين أم لم يكن من الطوافين حتى ولو كان لا يوجد في البيوت أبدا. Okay? Now, Sheikh Uthaymeen, he makes a point here. He goes that, is it the cat that the illah is about, that should be made pure? Or is it the tawafin, al-mutatawif yani? Is it the fact that they make tawaf which should be the issue that should determine that makes it pure? What makes sense here? The second part. Because obviously, therefore then the ruling has been given because of difficulty. If we were to make the cat najas, yes, and it is an animal which is purely, it's a classical pet, plays around, messes around, loves it, nice, blah blah blah, and we were to make that haram, then it's a disaster. It's really difficult, right? So then, if that's the reason why we allowed it, and it's very interesting Because the Prophet ﷺ said, because it is from at-tawafin. You know, when he gives you the illah, then you got some space to work with. So we'll say, right, well, let's find some other animals then, which also come from at-tawafin wa at-tawafat. So let's have it. What do you think?
Would dogs be allowed?
Okay, dogs. What do you think?
Especially in the UK.
Especially in the UK. Why not?
There's specific.
Correct. Okay. There's no possibility of using a general hadith when we have a specific nas. So yes, the dog is from tawafin. There's no doubt about it. Maybe even better than the cat itself. And that's why, okay, according to the Hanbalis, okay, they make an exception for the dog because of the nas. We will say, okay, the majority, not the majority, the class position is that yani the dog is included in this. Okay, it covers the dog because it is pure. The body, its saliva is a problem. Obviously, we're not saying keeping a dog as pets because that's something else. Okay, and that's something which should be avoided unless there's a need for security or because you need it for hunting or something or staying outside or whatever. Then that's fine. Okay, but yeah. But what other animals?
Mouse?
Huh?
A mouse?
Use a mouse as a pet.
Honestly, unbelievable. People in Brom are weird, man. I always heard that Brummies kept mice as pets, you know, because they couldn't be both pay for hamsters. Think. Don't think of you in your city flat, okay? Think of the world, please, okay?
A rabbit.
Yeah, I said to him, listen, just watch this, yeah? Just watch. I said to him, don't think of your city apartment. Think of the rest of the world. The guy goes a rabbit. The only people in the world that keep rabbits, yeah, are those people who live in city apartments. Little denku, yani, whatever, and they stick a rabbit in there and they call it Percy, and that's it, yeah? Unbelievable. In the real world, yeah, the only thing that rabbits are used for is food. Huh? So we're talking about donkeys, we're talking about horses, we're talking about cows, okay? So all of these animals are pure. Now you might say, well, hold on, cows and things are already allowed, okay? So that's fine. But the really controversial one that we're going to put in is the donkey and is the mule, okay? Remember that we have different types of, we might as well just mention this now, okay? We might as well mention this now. And it's good actually, I think, that we spend one other session on this because we'll cover the issue, the important one, which is the issue of vaginal discharge in the next one. Let's finish off with animals, all right? If you look at animals, then there's different types of, I'm talking riding beasts. You have a horse, yes? Let's take out cattle and camel and all this because it's all very clear. Let me just start with the horse. The horse is something which is permissible to eat according to the correct position. So that's fine, okay? And the horse is definitely pure. We know all that about it. The big discussion about animals, and we'll come to the evidences later, is about domesticated donkeys, all right? Which is the normal donkey that you see, okay? And a mule. And a mule is basically the child of a horse and a donkey, all right? Now, there is another type of donkey, technically, and that's called the wild donkey, and that's like an onager, okay? Onager. And they're like a zebra, basically. Yeah, and a wild. Now, those are permissible to eat. The Prophet ﷺ has said by nas that those are permissible to eat. But the donkey themselves, the normal donkey, is haram to eat. Now, the Hanbalis, they have that basic principle. Anything which is haram to eat is najas. Okay, najas. And so for them, the mule, as you see right at the end, okay, what are the following are impure? Domesticated donkeys and mules. Alright? But what did we just say? We said that the illah is at-tawaf and things and mashaqqa and difficulty. And so if these things are you're utilizing every single day, you know, you're riding on them, working with them, milking them, all that kind of stuff, whatever, then we can't have them being impure. And so therefore, this is, the position is that they are pure. And I want to just say to you now, a little bit kind of a cheat, I think I mentioned it earlier on, that in my opinion, and this is the opinion of Shaykh Uthaymeen in his later years, and it's the position of Ibn Taymiyyah as well, every single animal is pure. Every single animal is pure, other than the spit of the dog and the entirety of the pig. Okay? Every single animal is pure, other than the spit of the dog and the entirety of the pig. Alright? Okay, good. So we can now just quickly cover a few things. The other thing which is being overlooked, the final thing which is being overlooked, is that which is left after istijmar. Now, obviously, LP students are very, very clued up on the concept of istinja and istijmar. Okay, istinja is the stanja. Yeah, stanja is, you know, when you clean your private parts with water. Yeah, normal, standard, lota 3 times, all the rest of it. Yeah. Istijmar is when you clean those same private parts but using classically clods of earth, yeah, or stones.
Dry.
Yes, dry substances. And we of course extend that to cover tissue paper and wipes and whatnot. Okay, so that's called istijmar. But classically you're using stone. Now imagine, of course, back in the day, all right, if that's happening. I remember we had this discussion, and I don't want to go over it, and believe me, we discussed this issue to death. All right, and so if you like that kind of thing, I've got to say I do. All right, then go back and watch the videos. They're very interesting. Okay, and you'll learn a lot. But I just want to say to you that there was always this discussion: what's better between istinja and istijmar? Okay, because remember back then, soap isn't so readily available, hot water isn't readily available. You've only got very little time, and so if you're cleaning yourself with your finger, okay, with water, there's no doubt that there's going to be najas that's going to go into your finger, correct? And the idea would be that you just wash it off with water and that's the end of it. However, you know that in our time, for najas to be on your finger, even if you wash it 1,000 times with water, we're going to want to apply soap and God knows what. Agreed? Okay? Just a mental kind of thing. And so there was a strong position amongst some of the companions and tabi'in, whatever, that istijmar is actually better than istinja. Why? Because you're not physically touching the dirt. Yes? You're using something else. Would you agree? You're using a stone. You're using a barrier. Alright? In actual fact, as we proved in this lesson, mashallah, istijmar was actually the original thing that was legislated by the Prophet ﷺ. Istinja was later. Istinja is like a later thing. The asl actually in cleaning yourself is istijmar. Alright? Now, you can imagine that if you are using something which is hard or harder, whatever, to clean yourself, the massive advantage of you not getting your fingers dirty is obvious. Yet, there's no way that it's going to clean the area as good as it would if you're using water. So there's a payoff. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. And so the scholars had to deal with this. They said, well, how are we going to deal with the issue that if we're going to use this, there's going to be traces left. You're not going to have cleaned the area completely. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah? There's going to be traces of feces and urine because just by the nature of you not using water. And so the Hanbalis responded to that and they said that those tiny small traces would be overlooked because they're definitely there, and the Prophet ﷺ didn't obligate to wash afterwards. If you do wash afterwards is good, but he didn't obligate it. And those traces are definitely there. We all know any solid substance which is used instead of water, there's always something left. And therefore, it must be that small amounts must be overlooked. It must be. Can't be any other option. And so therefore, it was thingy. Now, they as an extension of this fact, and this is interesting. They said that that there was something which I read which was really interesting and really funny as well. Yes. Okay. What did it say? What's the condition of the overlooking? Small amount. And did I bring that across in the translation, or was I asleep? Yeah. The private parts is that. Okay? The private parts. Now, if you've got diarrhea, you know that is not being restricted to the private parts. So, no one feel embarrassed, okay? I'm the one who's getting the best, not you, alright? Sheikh says, وَعُلِمَ مِنْ قَوْلِهِ بِمَحَلِّهِ, and it can be seen that from the statement in its place only, meaning the private parts, that if it was to exceed normal spreading, huh? فَلَوْ تَجَاوَزَ مَحَلَّهُ لَمْ يُعْفَ عَنْهُ. If it was to exceed its normal spreading place, for example, just turn off the thingy for a second. No, the thing there. Inside, just get to 0. Allah Akbar. Oh my goodness me, bro. There's a difference between 0 and 10, bro.
Blew my wirecast.
Blew everything, bro. You just killed everyone, by the way. I had to turn it off because the next statement is disrespectful to say between the adhan, okay? He says that, for example, if he sweats and the sweat then takes the traces off from the private parts and it goes onto his bum cheeks. I love that phrase.
Very graphic.
Oh, so what is that? What is that? Go on, Mr. Graphic. What's the other phrase for that? صفحتي دبر. They're not called gluteals. The gluteus maximus. What's the two gluteus maximuses?
Cheeks of your bum.
He goes, if it was to spread onto the cheeks of your bum or backside or onto the clothes or onto the pants, then it is not overlooked. That is not acceptable. Okay, that's according to the Hanbali madhab. Okay, is that clear, everybody? Okay. He goes that, and Shaykh Uthaymeen says, but actually if you think about what he's saying, he's then basically saying that istijmar does not purify an area. And that what is left behind is actually najis. But Shaykh Uthaymeen says that istijmar does purify an area. It does purify an area. This is a bit strange, this statement, okay? He goes, it does purify an area. And so whatever has happened as a result of what's left, it has become pure. Yani what he's trying to say is that it's interesting. Look at his istidlal here, okay? This is obviously what this class is about. Try to understand the methodology of scholars. He said, the evidence for this is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ with respect to dung and bones. Now, remember dung, I said to you, is an awesome material, okay? When you heat it and you make those things out of it, it is amazing to use, okay? I mean, if anyone's ever done istijmar with a clod of earth like you're meant to, okay, you'll know that to use dung is like the perfect substance. It's soft, it's solid, soft enough, etc., etc. Yet the Prophet ﷺ prohibited the use of dung. He also prohibited the use of bones. And when he prohibited them both, what did he say? He said, لا يطهران. They do not purify. Now, let me ask you a question. Do they purify a place? Technically, of course they do. If you had a bone and you kept rubbing a place, could you purify a place? Yes, you could. So therefore, it would suggest that the purification here is not talking about a physical one, but it does not lift the kind of the hadith, kind of the actual spiritual meaning of the impurity. And that's why you can't use the dung and you can't use the bone.
I thought it's because it's the food of your brothers.
That's not for the thing either, not for the dung, is it? Yeah, for the bones, yes, but not for the dung. Yeah. So
is this another example of what we mentioned before with the vinegar and the alcohol, where it may purify it, but because of the actual process?
Something similar to that. Okay. So basically, what Shaykh Uthaymeen says, and it is a bit of a leap, but it's an interesting one. He says, so therefore, if those two don't, and we know that he said istijmar does, then istijmar not only purifies the area, but it purifies everything which is there. It deals with everything. And so therefore, any traces which are left and wherever they go, if they are so small, remember we said tiny, we can't be big, clunks or whatever, right? If it's so small and insignificant, yu'fa'an, it is forgiven. It is overseen. Is that okay? Yeah. Is that okay? And just to finish off, then final statement. Just to finish off. second. فهذا اثنان من يرفع عن وذلك أنه لا يرفع عن يسير شيء مما سواه سيره وكذلك البول والروث. I just want to say that we've only mentioned two things here, right? We mentioned blood and we mentioned traces of what's left after istijmar. Yes? Okay. What about other things? What about basically all najasat? Anything impure, such as urine, human urine, such as dog urine, such as anything. Because they're very, very specific, isn't it? Only blood from a pure animal, only traces after istijmar. Yes? There are a number of positions, but the only one I'm interested in now to close with is that the third position, there are three positions on this, okay? There are three positions on this issue. Number one is that nothing is overlooked. If it's najis, it's najis. If it's najis, it's najis, nothing is overlooked, even a tiny amount. The second position is the one we have here, that only these two things are overlooked. Yes? And the third position is that every single najasa is overlooked, if it is a tiny amount, insignificant amount. And the position of the last one is a position of Abu Hanifa, and it's a position of Ibn Taymiyyah, and they basically said that it has to be all of them because the reasoning is mashaqqa. The reasoning for the overlooking is difficulty, and so if it's difficulty, then difficulty should be applied across the board to all of the problems that we have. And so therefore, according to them, we've got mouse, and we've got dung, and we've got everything all around the house, and so on and so forth. And Shaykh Uthaymeen, he goes, then the correct position is that what Abu Hanifa said and Shaykh al-Islam. So we have to say that actually all types of these show that it is permissible. ومن يسير التي يعفى عنها لمشقة أحد منه يسير سلاسل البول من ابتلي وتحفظ. يعني so many different things. And it applies across the board, even like in the example of incontinence and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's a place to end with there. Yeah.
What about sometimes traces of blood are found in eggs, like egg yolk, because that's like actual eating?
And what's in there? The blood of the.
Blood, like I don't know what's going to be. The red traces are usually found in eggs and yolks. So isn't that considered to be some kind of a blood?
No, that's part of the actual egg itself and something which is permissible. Okay. And just to close this particular part, the human beings, and that's important, not just the thingy, are pure when they die. So touching a dead body does not require ghusl. Okay. Touching a dead body, and this is the case as Shaykh Uthaymeen says. And the famous hadith in this is that the mu'min la yanjus, yeah? The Prophet ﷺ said that the mu'min is never impure. So people only think it's something for the believer. But as Shaykh Uthaymeen says, this is man kana min bani adam min mu'min wa kafirin wa dhakarin wa untha wa saghirin wa kabirin fa innahu la yanjusu bil maut abada. So this doesn't matter whether it's a Muslim, non-Muslim, a boy or a girl, old or young. All dead bodies are pure. All dead bodies are pure. Okay, good. I think that we'll probably only need half a session to cover the rest of the thingy. Maybe even less than that, actually. So next session, inshallah, we'll start menstruation. When do you want to come back, Shaz? Half two?
No.
What?
2:45.
2:45?
I can't go to Spain. Set everything up. It's pushing everything.
Okay, 2:45. Okay, guys, 2:45 is when we return online, everybody. That's in exactly 1 hour and 16 minutes. Okay, in 1 hour and 16 minutes. Jazakumullahu khaira. And if you have questions, then put it down. No problem, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khair. Okay, assalamu alaikum.